Hello and welcome back to Neuro English Now. I'm John, and as always, I'm joined by my fantastic co-host, Sarah.
Hi, everyone. We're thrilled to have you with us today. If you're a beginner learning English, or you just want to sound a little more natural, this episode is going to be perfect for you.
That's right. Today's all about mastering 30 essential English phrases that'll help you communicate confidently in everyday situations. And of course, we'll be explaining how to use them effectively, so you'll be ready to tackle all kinds of conversations.
Absolutely. So whether you're just listening in today, or you're armed with a notepad ready to jot down notes, we've got you covered. Oh, and don't forget, practicing these phrases out loud is the key to getting fluent. You might feel silly doing it at first, but trust us, it works.
Great tip, Sarah. Okay, so let's jump straight in. We're kicking things off with the kind of phrases that everyone needs for daily interactions. Those simple greetings and small talk that help break the ice when meeting someone new. Now, as promised, let's dive straight into those essential greetings and small talk phrases. These are truly the foundation of any conversation, and mastering them will help you feel more comfortable in everyday interactions, wherever you are.
Exactly. And, even though they seem super basic, mastering greetings can make someone feel instantly comfortable talking to you. It's a small thing, but it really matters.
Totally. So let's dive into some essential phrases. The classics, as I like to call them. Hi, how are you? Or nice to meet you. These set the tone, and honestly, they break the ice, don't they?
They do. And another one that's really common is, how was your weekend? It's such an easy follow-up to a simple hello, especially on Mondays. It just shows you're interested, which is huge in English-speaking cultures.
Right? So here's something to try. Next time you meet someone new, maybe a coworker or even just someone at a coffee shop, start with, hi, how are you? And then try adding something specific like, did you catch the game last night?
Oh, that's a great idea. Small talk isn't about having deep conversations. It's, small. And it's just about connecting over something light, whether it's the weather, a TV show, or even the line at the grocery store.
Yeah, and that's something a lot of learners don't realize. Small talk's not about the topic itself, it's about getting comfortable. And here's the thing, in English-speaking countries, this kind of talk happens everywhere. It's just part of the culture.
Exactly. It's not so much about what you say, but the fact that you're willing to start a conversation. And, let's admit it. It can feel really awkward at first, right? But trust us, the more you practice, the easier it gets.
Yes, and practicing can be fun. You can role play with a friend or even practice in front of a mirror. Say, hi, how are you? And imagine different responses like, oh, I'm great, thanks, how about you? Just, play with it like that.
That's such a good tip. And if you're someone who's nervous about starting small talk, just remember, people generally appreciate the effort. Trust me, they're not judging your grammar or vocabulary. They're just glad you're making the effort.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, these phrases are tools, and the more you use them, the sharper your skills become. So we've talked about mastering small talk, but let's take it to a real-life situation. Imagine walking into a cafe or restaurant. It's one of those everyday moments where small talk meets practicality. You want to place an order, but sometimes the words just seem to disappear, don't they?
Totally. It's so common, and honestly, it can feel kind of intimidating at first. But once you've got a few key phrases down, it gets much, much easier.
Exactly. So here's where we start. Begin with, can I have, or I'd like, followed by, whatever you're ordering. For example, can I have a coffee, please? Or I'd like a sandwich, please.
Right. And adding please at the end makes your request sound polite, which is super important in English-speaking countries. Plus, don't forget to say thank you when you get your order.
Yeah, manners go a long way. Now, if you want to step it up a bit, like if you're ready to sound more advanced, you can add specifics. For instance, instead of just, can I have a coffee, please? You could say, can I have a cappuccino with almond milk, please?
Oh, I love that example. And you can do the same with food, like, I'd like a chicken sandwich without mayo, please. Little details like that make your requests clearer and more natural.
Exactly. And here's something important. It's not just about the words you use, it's also the tone of your voice. It should be warm, friendly, and confident, like you're sure about what you're ordering but still polite.
Yes. And if you ever feel stuck or unsure, remember, you can always rely on basics like pointing to the menu and saying, can I have this, please? It's a simple trick, but it works perfectly.
Totally agree. Oh, one more thing. Don't forget phrases for the end of your meal. Something like, can I get the check, please? That one's a must-know if you're dining out.
It is. And if you want to practice, try imagining different situations. For example, pretend you're ordering at your favorite cafe. What would you say? Or, next time you're actually out, try making your order in English.
Yeah, and the more you practice, the more these phrases will feel like second nature. Okay, so those are the essentials for navigating restaurants and cafes. Polite, simple, and clear. That's the goal. All right, now that we've covered how to navigate ordering at restaurants and cafes, let's move on to another key skill, talking about yourself. This comes up all the time, whether you're making new friends, introducing yourself in a class, or even at work.
Right? And the great thing about learning to talk about yourself is that it's personal. No one knows you better than, well, you. It's like having a cheat sheet to start conversations.
Exactly. So let's break it down and get started with the basics. A really common way to start is by saying, I'm your name. Like I'd say, I'm John, or Hi, I'm John. It's such a simple phrase, but it opens up the conversation.
Also, where you're from is a great follow-up. Something like, I'm from Brazil, or I'm from Japan. You can add wherever you're currently living too, like, I live in Berlin.
Yeah, and if you want to take it a step further, you can mention what you do. For example, I work as a graphic designer, or I'm a student. It's a great way to share something about your life.
Oh, and hobbies. Don't forget to talk about what you like to do in your free time. Something like, in my free time, I like to cook. Or even, I'm learning English because I want to connect with more people.
Absolutely. And here's a pro tip for learners. Experiment with combining these phrases. So instead of just saying, I'm Sarah, and then stopping, you could add details like, I'm Sarah, I'm from London, and I love playing the guitar.
Yeah, it makes your introduction more, complete, and it gives people something to ask you about. It's like you're opening the door for a conversation to keep flowing.
Precisely. Okay, here's a fun challenge for you listeners. Take a moment now and say out loud where you're from, what you do, and something you enjoy. Go ahead, pause us if you need to, and give it a try.
And don't worry if it feels awkward at first. The more you practice, the smoother it'll get. Think of it like working out a muscle. It gets stronger the more you use it.
Totally agree. And don't be afraid to make mistakes. It's all part of the process. Just get comfortable hearing yourself say the words, because honestly, confidence makes a huge difference when you're talking about yourself.
Exactly. And if you're someone who gets nervous, remember to keep it simple at first. Even a short introduction works. It's all about starting.
So true. All right, feel free to practice this as much as you want. Talking about yourself is one of the best ways to connect with people, and it's something you'll use again and again. Now that we've practiced talking about ourselves and building connections, let's move on to shopping, another everyday activity where English phrases come in super handy. It's something we all do, and having the right words can make the experience a lot smoother and less intimidating.
Absolutely. Whether you're buying clothes, groceries, or just window shopping, these phrases will definitely come in handy.
Exactly. All right, so here's a basic but very useful question. Excuse me, do you have this in a smaller size? It's such a good one for shopping, especially when you're looking for clothes or shoes that don't quite fit.
Oh, definitely. And along those lines, asking, how much is this? Is another must-know phrase. It's simple, but you'll use it all the time when you're out shopping.
Right? And let's take that a step further. Say you're picking out something specific. You can add details like, how much is this red jacket? It makes it clear what you're asking about, especially in a busy store.
Yeah, and another one I love is, can I try this on? It's perfect for when you're shopping for clothes, and you're not sure about the fit. Super straightforward and polite.
Exactly. Now, when it comes to payment, here's another useful phrase. Do you accept credit cards? It's always good to know before heading to the register, especially if you're in a different country.
Oh, and don't forget, when you're ready to buy something, you can say, I'll take this, please. It's polite, clear, and lets the cashier know you've made your choice.
Good point. And here's something important. Always add please and thank you. In English-speaking cultures, politeness makes a big impression, especially in customer service situations.
Absolutely. It's such a small thing, but it makes interactions much smoother. And if you're not sure what to say, just sticking to basics like thank you can work wonders.
Exactly. So, here's an idea, listeners. Next time you go shopping, try using one or two of these phrases. Maybe start with, excuse me, how much is this? And see how it goes. Small steps make a huge difference.
Yes, and like we always say, don't stress about being perfect. It's all about communication, and people will appreciate the effort you're making.
Absolutely. And remember, practice makes these phrases flow naturally, so the more you use them, the easier shopping in English will become. Now that we've covered useful shopping phrases, let's take it a step further, expressing preferences and opinions. This not only helps you during conversations like shopping, but also makes your interactions much more engaging.
Definitely. It also shows your personality and what you care about, which, helps people connect with you on a deeper level.
Exactly. It goes beyond just answering a question and makes you part of the conversation. Take, I like Italian food, for example. It's simple, right? But you could extend it to, I like Italian food because the flavors are so rich. Just that little addition makes it feel so much more personal.
Right. And you can do the same with things you don't like. For instance, instead of just saying, I don't like spicy dishes, you could add something like, they're too hot for me. It's okay to keep it short and simple. Just be honest.
Oh, honesty is huge. And another great phrase is, I think it's perfect for sharing your opinions. Like, I think this movie is amazing, or I think this shirt looks great on you. It gives you tons of ways to express yourself without overcomplicating things.
And, in my opinion, works really well too. You could say something like, in my opinion, this restaurant is the best in town. It sounds confident, but still polite, which is always a good balance to strike.
Yeah, and here's the thing, your preferences are totally yours, so don't feel like there's a right or wrong thing to say. Whether your favorite color is blue or purple, people just want to hear what you think. I mean, that's how conversations go, right?
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to elaborate when you can. Instead of just saying, I like this cafe, you could add, I like this cafe because the coffee is amazing and the staff are super friendly. It adds depth, and you'll sound more engaged.
Yes, and here's a challenge, listeners. Next time you're talking with someone in English, try to include one of these phrases. Maybe say something like, I think this song is awesome, or, in my opinion, summer is the best season. It's a great way to practice.
Totally. And if you're not sure what to say, start with simple likes and dislikes. Like, I like tea, or I don't like cold weather. Even short phrases like these can start a conversation and help you feel more comfortable.
Exactly. The more you practice sharing your preferences, the easier it gets to express your opinions. And before you know it, this'll all feel completely natural. So now that we've talked about expressing opinions and preferences, let's switch gears a bit and focus on something equally important, using English to navigate places. Whether you're traveling or just exploring your own city, asking for directions is absolutely a must-know skill, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. It's super practical, and honestly, it can save you a lot of stress. Plus, it's a great way to connect with people and practice polite conversation.
Exactly. So, let's start with some key phrases. A common one, of course, is, excuse me, can you help me? Super polite, super simple, and it opens the door for you to ask anything else like, where's the nearest bus stop? Or, how do I get to the train station?
Right. And when you get a response, make sure you're actively listening. People might give you a lot of information quickly, so it's okay to politely ask, could you repeat that, please? Or, can you speak a bit slower, please?
Yes, I honestly love those phrases because they're so useful in real life and not just for directions. They're like these multitaskers in your vocabulary toolkit.
Totally. And here's a tip. If you're not confident understanding everything, focus on key words, like street names or landmarks. Sometimes you don't need to catch every single word to get where you're going.
Absolutely. And just being polite goes a long way, like ending with thank you for your help. It's such a simple way to leave a positive impression, even if you're feeling a little lost.
So true. And, speaking of getting lost, it's actually a great excuse to practice English. Try imagining scenarios, like asking for directions to a museum or the nearest park, and then say the phrases out loud to yourself.
Exactly. And here's where it gets interesting. You can combine these directional phrases with expressions about your preferences like, I prefer to walk instead of taking the bus, or even, I like exploring cities on foot.
Yeah, or something like, I enjoy taking taxis because they're more convenient. Adding preferences makes the conversation richer and more personal, you know? It's another chance to practice expressing yourself confidently.
Totally. And it shows that you're not just looking for help, you're also sharing a bit about yourself. That's what keeps communication interesting.
Exactly. So next time you're out, challenge yourself to use directional phrases and maybe throw in a preference. Something simple like, I prefer quiet places, can really elevate your conversation skills.
Oh, I love that idea. It's all about layering what you've learned, right? Directions, preferences, and of course a touch of politeness. It's a winning combination.
And there you have it. From navigating places to expressing preferences, we've covered some crucial skills today. We hope these essential phrases help you feel more confident speaking English.
Absolutely. The more you use these phrases, the more natural they'll start to feel. It's like building a habit, right? The more you practice, the easier it gets.
Exactly. And remember, don't worry about making mistakes along the way. I mean, that's just how we learn.
It really is. And honestly, the important thing is just to keep practicing. Use these phrases when you're ordering coffee, asking for directions, or just making small talk. Little by little, you'll notice a big difference.
So true. And don't forget to have fun with it. Language is all about making connections, you know? And every time you try, you're taking another step forward.
Absolutely. All right, everyone, thanks for tuning in to this episode of Neuro English Now. If you found it helpful, share it with a friend who's learning English. We'd love to hear how you're using these phrases in your own conversations.
Yes, definitely. And feel free to leave us a comment or a message with your favorite phrase from today's episode. We'd love to hear from you.
And on that note, we'll see you next time. Keep practicing, and as always, happy learning.